and welcome to another episode of Something Witchy, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I'm Lara Cotter.
And I'm Sky Orchard.
And we're switching things up on you this week because I couldn't think of a question of the week. So it's Sky's turn.
Wow. My question is, if your friend told you they were a witch, what spell would you want them to cast?
Like, of the ones we've seen Sabrina do so far?
Or any spell?
Any spell? What's a spell that can make student loans disappear?
I'm guessing just conjuring money, but...
Then that.
Nice. Aren't you close to being done? Or did the government ruin things?
So I've definitely had over 10 years of qualified employment, but because we've all been on the SAVE plan that got all held up in courts and then got reversed, everybody who's on that plan is in forbearance right now. So they will not accept money, even if I try to send it to them. And they're like, oh, well, you can get off of the SAVE plan and you can go to a different plan where your monthly payments are going to at least triple, or I can just stay on the SAVE plan while government tries to work its shit out. And I can just wait for them. And in the meantime, I submitted a buyback request because I really only have 4 months left that I think I need to pay. Buyback request is where I've been employed for those months, but I wasn't paying either because I was in deferment or forbearance or something like that. And so I would pay what I was supposed to pay in those months. And so I think that's the cheaper option for me. But because the Department of Education has been gutted, the processing of those requests is extremely slow right now. And they are very backlogged to the tune of something like 60,000 requests. So I'm just not giving the government money right now because I don't think they deserve it.
Valid. So you really need a witch friend to conjure you some money then.
I mean, I'd be happy to pay those last 4 months. So even if we could, is there a spell that makes the government work? I think that would solve more of our problems than anything.
Okay, but I feel like we've learned every spell has its twist, and so I don't even want to know what would go wrong with that spell.
That's the spell I would choose. Get rid of my student loans.
And that's a good spell, and also sort of a sad spell.
It is, but it's the one thing that I'm like, that would help me the most.
It's true.
What would you do?
On a brighter note, I guess, I just want to hippity-hoppity all over the world and see the sights. Start with Scotland.
Yeah, just do a little... You could do it all in one day, too.
Yeah, teleportation over all the big sites.
Wait, does that mean after the one day, my student loans would come back?
Oh, maybe. And also, I wouldn't remember seeing those sites. Oh.
Okay, maybe I'm going to change... What would I change my spell to something that I wouldn't care? But I wouldn't, what I want to remember. Okay. Here's a spell that would be fun, but I'll be okay if I don't have the memory of it. Is if I could just those really, really fluffy sheep that have the really long wool. Just zap me one of those so I can just pet it for an hour.
That's a good one.
Are you going to change yours or are you going to stick with your...
Well, now I'm depressed about mine. Trying to think, because obviously physical effects still linger, right? Harvey's hand is still bruised, and
yeah,
Ditzy
Valerie
girl.
did still have the
Valerie
glasses.
has glasses, yeah, Ditzy girl. And
Ditzy
so
girl.
could I go somewhere, be gifted a cool sword, and as long as I still have it in my hands by midnight, be okay?
Yeah, I think you can keep the sword. You just don't remember how you got it.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah, then we can do that.
I'd go somewhere cool and get a cool sword, or several swords. I could still hippity-hoppity, and I could just have this random armory.
Where are the places that have cool swords? Are we zapping into the Tower of London and the crown jewels and their swords, or...
Sold. Zap into Weta workshops and steal some Lord of the Rings swords and katana, and yeah, okay, I guess I can do that.
This has been Sword Time with Sky again.
Sword facts.
Wasn't really a fact.
Fact is, I love swords.
Yeah, there we go. There's the
sword
fact.
facts.
Sword facts. Sword facts. Let's get into it. Wait, I need to back up before we get into the
there's
episode.
a little bit of housekeeping we need to do.
There is housekeeping.
Let me do mine first.
You do yours because mine is
vicious.
going to build on yours. So you do yours first.
I should have done a voice of God while I was editing last week, but in fact, we were doing season 2, episode 9 last week, despite Laura's saying we were doing 2.8. over again at the beginning.
I said 2.8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so disappointed in myself.
Next time I'm just going to do a sassy voice of God of, hi, Sky here. It's actually 2.9. Anyways.
Please do. Please insert your voice correcting me whenever you want.
Oh, don't give me that power. That's legally binding.
Everything about these recordings is legally binding. That was not the housekeeping I thought you were going to say. The housekeeping I was going to say is, so our title of the last episode was I'm so excited for you to die. And before the episode released, I posted on Instagram stories, who do you think said this during the podcast? Do you think Laura said it or Sky said it? And 100% of the people said that they thought Sky said that sentence.
How many people did it end up being at the end of the day?
I mean, it was only 8, but one of them is your girlfriend. 100% of the people, including Jill, said Sky. And when I asked people, because Sky, I screenshotted it and sent it to Sky with like crying, laughing face. And Sky was like, you need a post that everybody needs to explain themselves. So after the poll ended, I shared the results and said, Sky would like each one of you to explain yourselves for why you chose them. And nobody responded except for one of our followers who just did a crying, laughing emoji to that story. So no one wants to own up to why they thought it was Sky, but everybody thought it was Sky.
Has the song or trend or whatever made it to Instagram Reels that is that was rude?
Yes.
That's just all that's been going through my mind. Making a little playlist in my head of, look what you made me do.
We can do a series of reels of you to different offended music.
Right.
We're almost to 100 followers because Sky put out a message to all of their friends and was like, follow. And we got like 3 more followers.
Thanks, 3 friends.
We have gotten some other people. We do have a new follower and they're so sweet. And they messaged me on Instagram. They said something like, oh, I love how you guys don't have any like those weird long pauses that a lot of the podcasts do, like the amateur podcast. And I was like, Sky does a great job of making us sound like we're more put together than we actually are. You guys heard the one episode we released that was pretty much just the raw version. And that one was pretty insane. So Sky does a great job at editing us. And they said something like, yeah, I can tell. Or something. Or it was very much a compliment, but it made it sound like, no, yeah, I can tell you guys would be hot messes without this editing.
It's true. There's a reason I don't even want to do like video.
Oh no, we're never going to do video.
The amount that would have to be edited, we'd have to hire someone and we don't make money. So
I would have to I would not let myself look like this on video. I feel uncomfortable even sometimes just putting it on stories. So unless we got to the point where we had like a big production company that could like help us out, we're not doing video. I'm sorry. Not even for a Patreon. No video ever.
Could just do the raw, messy video should we ever get there. But
it would have to be like you're paying $50 a month for that. We're talking like OnlyFans pricing on this.
It's okay. I'm fine with people seeing me look like a goblin while I rant about swords and how Instagram followers have hurt my heart.
So the way we choose our titles is when Sky does all the editing, they pick out the fun things we've said and gives me a list of them. And then what I've been doing lately is I'll either send a text to our friend Emily, who was on our season 1 recap, and have her pick one, or I text my friend Stephanie and have her pick one, depending on what time of day it is, because Stephanie's on a different time zone than us. And so they've been picking them because I didn't want, sometimes I think things are funny that nobody else thinks is funny. So it's easier if I just outsource that labor.
Interesting, because sometimes I'm like, Laura chose that. I would have gone with this.
Sometimes it's length too. Because if it's a really long quote, I'm usually not going to pick that one just because of trying to stick it on the caption or on the little image. Sometimes it's just logistics. And then sometimes, like, Stephanie was the one who picked I'm so excited for you to die. Emily actually picked this recording is now legally binding for last week's episode. So we got a difference of opinion, but I'd already made the graphic with the I'm so excited for you to die. So that's the one we went with.
I mean, at the end of the day, I might have voted for myself had I not known. If I were an outside person, it checks out.
I'm usually the one who's rambling more nonsensical things. You usually have more like fact-based things.
Facts.
Facts with Sky. If this episode has any semblance of cohesion, that's completely because of Sky's editing skills. So this is season 2, episode 10, To Tell a Mortal. Our TV guide description: on Friday the 13th, a witch can tell a mortal about being a witch because at the end of the day, they will forget about their secret. So Sabrina tells Valerie and Harvey. That is a very long run-on sentence. Our Paramount Plus/Pluto description is: it's Friday the 13th, and for one day only, Sabrina can tell her friend she's a witch.
Do you copy exactly from what TV Guide says? Because there is not a single comma.
I think they had multiple people doing their their little taglines, because the next couple, we've had a few that have just been like 1 sentence or 2 sentence descriptions, and then when we get to episode 13, it's a paragraph.
Oh, does it have commas at least? Because this one does not have any.
It has commas and periods. In fact, I think it has an extra period it doesn't actually need, but okay. And then we get back to like short one-line ones again. So I don't know who writes for TV Guide, but there's not really any rhyme or reason to any of it. I did watch this episode on my DVDs. I finally used them.
So proud.
The dimensions are a little funky, but it's okay, because what I did notice, there were a couple spots where I wanted to pause things to look at things in the background, and it was nice because it didn't do the dimming of the screen thing like Hulu used to do, and it didn't take a couple clicks of the thing like it does on Pluto. So I think it's going to be DVDs from here on out, unless for whatever reason I'm doing this away from my home and my TV.
Yeah, Paramount Plus straight on lays an ad over the pause screen, so I can't see anything.
That's so gross.
Capitalism.
All right. This originally aired November 21st, 1997. It was directed by Peter Baldwin, and Carey Honningbloom and Renee Phillips are back as our writers. We have quite a few guest stars this time. First up, we have Drew Carey as himself from The Drew Carey Show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? And more recently, The Price is Right. We have Mark Langston as himself also. He's a former Major League Baseball left-handed pitcher who pitched for the Seattle Mariners, the Montreal Expos, the Anaheim Angels, the San Diego Padres, and the Cleveland Indians. Are they still called the Cleveland Indians, or are they one of the ones who've changed their name?
It's baseball, so...
As we have said many times on this podcast, we do not know anything about baseball.
Okay. They actually did change. They are now the Cleveland Guardians.
All right, Cleveland Guardians. Get updated, Wikipedia. We have Timothy Oman as Sigmund Freud. He is in a lot of serial killer shows, including Bundy, A Legacy of Evil, Boston Strangler, The Untold Story, Chicago Massacre, Richard Speck, and Ed Gein, The Butcher of Plainfield. I don't know who he played in all of those, but that's a lot of serial killer shows.
Never noticed how many colons are used in the title of serial killer shows.
I'm hoping that these are all part of like a series. I don't know. A lot of those like crimey shows are like something, this thing. We have Caroline Williams as Gwendolyn. She was in Renfield, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Psycho Granny, which I think we've talked about before.
Sounds familiar.
Or was that Space Granny?
Oh.
Have we said Psycho Granny before?
I don't know, and I feel like I'm behind on noting our list. I need to go back through.
I can search our Google Drive. This is what I do to see if we've had certain writers before. Nope, we've not seen Psycho Granny before. It's only been Space Granny. So add Psycho Granny, but also add this next one, which is Slayer, Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, I love that.
How do you feel about the new Pride and Prejudice movie they're going to make?
They're making a new one?
They're making a new one. And I feel like it's unnecessary. We already have 2 absolute perfection examples of Pride and Prejudice. There are so many other books we can do by Jane Austen. It doesn't need to always be Pride and Prejudice.
You cannot trump, in my opinion, Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadyen, 2 very gorgeous people, and that soundtrack is phenomenal.
It's so good. Everybody in that movie is amazing.
There's people who are like, but the BBC. No, Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadyen.
This is why we're friends.
The friendship story. Oh, hi, it's Sky dropping by. From here on out, we'll get little stutters in Laura's audio occasionally. It's probably our long-lost Jenny trapped in the other realm trying to send us a message. Since there's only so much that can be done in post to fix these little stutters, we might as well embrace that they're going to happen, and we can make a little game out of it. Every time you hear one, take a sip of water, unclench your jaw, roll your shoulders, gamify that self-care. It really only happens 5 to 6 times, but hey, that's more self-care than planned. Anyways, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Oh, there's going to be another colon in the next credits. Next is Natalie Strauss as Current. She was in Picket Fences, Buffy, Lois and Clark, New Adventures of Superman, Step by Step, and Melrose Place. Cindy Lou is the reporter from Rush Hour 2, Desperate Housewives, House, and Family Matters. Ben Siegler is Stanley from, here's another colon, Speed 2, Cruise Control. The West Wing, Joan of Arcadia, and Big Brother Jake. And lastly, we have Irene Olga Lopez as Mrs. Martinez from The Big Lebowski, Basic Instinct, Frasier, Nurse Betty, and Melrose Place. Overall thoughts on this episode, Sky?
There was a lot of Salem, but I wish there was more to Salem's hijinks than just electricity crackle and suddenly people are going, whoop.
Yeah.
Give me what Salem's like actually doing, or give me some more Black Cat on the 13th. Fun.
For an episode that was so magic use heavy, I felt like it could have been a little bit more. Especially when we get to the other realm with Jenny and Harvey, or Valerie and Harvey. Like, it's just like, oh, regenerating corn dogs. Okay. There could have been something different, more bigger there. It kind of was not, I don't know.
Maybe they need to have a very isolated corner of the other realm so that people aren't turned into katydids or other mischief. Because I sort of got offended when Harvey and Valerie were just popping into the other realm. Like, what about Jenny?
Well, apparently Jenny just went on the wrong day. I will say I kind of enjoyed, so somebody did actually write to us on Instagram, was like, I know you guys miss Jenny, but please give Valerie a chance. I did like Valerie a little bit better. There were just a couple of parts I was like, ugh. But I did like her better overall in this episode. I feel like she's getting a little bit more fleshed out, which is good. I'll talk about the couple parts I didn't really enjoy. But I feel like she's actually a person now. So hopefully we just keep getting more and more of this, because we're going to have Valerie for this season and the next one. Okay, did you just put your glasses on and off? Because I looked away and I looked at you and your glasses were gone. And then I looked back and they were on again. And I didn't see your hands at any point during that. Are you a witch, Sky?
No, because I'll get mobbed as cleaning them, obviously.
I just didn't see like hand movement at all. They were just like, there, gone, there. Into our cold open. Salem is giggling on the kitchen counter when Sabrina walks in and screams. Salem startled her because it's Friday the 13th. Hilda wanders in and is also startled. Then a bat flies out of her mouth. She has bat breath from eating pomegranates. Do you eat a lot of pomegranates?
No, pomegranates are expensive.
I feel like the only time I have pomegranate is like when it's in a fancy beverage.
Fancy beverage or like Christmas time, pomegranates pop up a lot.
Our outfit intro. It is some sort of late 1800s, early 1900s dress. And she says, I have to update my wardrobe. The quizmaster shows up to tell Sabrina it's Friday the 13th, getting startled by Salem.
You see a full shot of the desk in Sabrina's room, and there's no cauldron at all on the desk. And it seems like a smaller desk, and I don't know if it's because it's missing, like, it felt like there was a writing hutch at some point or something, but weird looking desk.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of the stuff that was gone that we've seen on it before. The one thing I did notice was like the black or dark colored box that I think we saw the cake sandwich thing on at one point and discussed that, but that was the only thing I recognized. The quizmaster tells Sabrina to read about it in her magic book. She's excited by what she reads and runs downstairs. She asks the aunts why they didn't tell her she can tell a mortal she's a witch for the next 24 hours. They didn't tell her because they didn't want her to know. Telling mortals is a very bad idea. Hilda told Freud when they were dating. We get a flashback of Hilda telling Freud, and he asks for proof. There's
some good burns from the mortals here. So Freud, Hilda says, I'm a witch, and Freud says, well, you can be a little testy.
Yeah. I also really liked her dress and hat. She zaps in a pocket watch that he wanted, and he freaks out. He tells her to get out, and she is carried out in a straitjacket.
Hilda says, once I got loose, I tripped him. You might say it was the first Freudian slip.
That seems like very mild revenge for a man who had you committed, especially knowing what we know about Hilda.
That's true. Trivia.
Yes.
Freud says, it wasn't real. I must have had a bad Krotwurst. What is the difference between a Krotwurst and a bratwurst? Do you know?
Well, krot sounds like sauerkraut, which I think is cabbage something. Is it cabbagey?
It's often served with sauerkraut, but no, it is another German sausage. So you have Krotwurst and bratwurst. Krotwurst is a little bit more seasoned and spicy, and it is shorter and chunkier, while bratwurst is skinnier and longer.
I got really excited by the idea of like a veggie sausage.
Those do exist.
But like back then, like a cabbage-based veggie sausage back in the early 1900s. Can I tell you, by the way, now that I said early 1900s, how much I hate when my young piano children say the late 1900s to me.
No, fire them, expel them.
They watched the Black Beauty movie that came out in the 90s, and she was like telling me about it. She's like, yeah, we watched that movie that's from the 1900s. And I was like, no, absolutely no. All right, back in the present day, Sabrina says that Hilda should have told a girlfriend. Zelda did, and we get another flashback to the Middle Ages where she told her best friend Gwendolyn, and then Gwendolyn told everyone else. The townspeople chased Zelda and then tried to drown her in a well. We come back to the present again, and Sabrina still doesn't understand how it can be that bad since the mortals don't remember after the day is over. The aunts point out that she will still remember how they reacted. Sabrina goes to school as Salem comes in after scaring a bread truck, and there are buns all over the road. Valerie attempts to say hi to Libby in the cafeteria for some reason, and obviously it doesn't work out. And this is my first moment. I was like, oh, okay, Valerie. She walks past Sabrina to say hi to a girl that has never once been nice to her and has, in fact, actively tried to sabotage her when she let Libby be editor for a week. And Libby said she'd introduce her to a boy. And then all she did was just shove Valerie's face into the water fountain in front of that boy. Valerie, you know better. You know better. Why are you even trying?
Doesn't she say specifically she wants to be popular so people will be nicer to her?
I don't know about be nicer to her, but she tells Sabrina that she wants to be popular.
And there was some reason behind it, and I didn't write it down.
But also, like, Libby's not going to be nice to you even if you are popular. We saw in the Truth Sprinkles episode the stuff Libby still says about her actual friends. Like, that's not who Libby is. She's not going to be nice for you unless you can do something for her. And she's only going to be nice to you as long as you do that thing for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Libby walks by and Valerie again tries to say goodbye, but Libby just gets grossed out. Valerie asks Sabrina to help her study for Spanish, and Sabrina agrees. But then Sabrina spots the quizmaster dressed up like a lunch lady. He sends them to Alaska to go to the Iditarod, leaving Valerie alone, calling for Sabrina. Libby notices and says, it's a nerd ditched by a freak. Zelda is trying to cure Hilda's bat breath, but turns it into bass breath. And you can see very clearly the bass in Carolyn's hand when she goes to hold her hand up to cough. You can see it like at the bottom of it.
Very, very tiny fish there that she coughs up.
Baby bass.
A little baby.
Baby bass. Sabrina comes back from Alaska, but missed social studies. She runs off to apologize to Valerie, who is upset because she failed her Spanish test without Sabrina's help. Number one, Sabrina didn't cause you to do like a whole semester's worth of bad in Spanish class. Number two, if you had a test immediately after lunch, how much is Sabrina actually going to be able to help you in that 30-minute time span to take you from failing the test to passing it? Don't blame that on Sabrina. Like, I understand you're frustrated, but no, maybe I'm not better off with Valerie yet in this episode. I feel like when we get to the other realm, she's more fun, but I'm still angry about this part. Sabrina pulls her into an empty classroom to explain and tells Valerie that she's a witch.
Yet another good little burn of, I knew you could be a little grumpy at times instead of accepting witch. I love these little witch equals bitch instead of witch equals actual witch.
Valerie doesn't believe it at first until Sabrina zaps in a sweater. Valerie says, get out, and Sabrina imagines getting carted out in a straitjacket, but Valerie thinks it's really cool and starts asking a ton of questions. Valerie starts asking Sabrina to point at stuff, and then Quizmaster shows up and takes them back into the empty classroom. Sabrina has to use a ticket every time she uses magic with a mortal and hands her a roll. She already used one with the sweater. It's because mortals have no restraint with magic or firearms.
I missed the firearms part.
I missed it the first time here, and I was like, oh, okay. Still relevant. Cue our first montage. Papers fly out of Libby's locker. A teacher starts dancing in the hall. Another teacher doesn't assign homework. And Libby starts sucking her thumb while talking to a boy.
And then in the hallway near the dancing teacher part, there's a very serious poster. It just says AIDS. As far as I saw.
This is where I paused. So I'm going to have you do your posters
nice.
And then I'll tell you the rest of what it says.
Okay, perfect.
It says AIDS does not discriminate on that poster.
Okay, cool. I just saw a very serious face and AIDS.
Very large AIDS.
Right? And then next to this poster, very serious poster, next to a cartoony one of vegetables that say, eat a potato.
That one was eat a potato on the top, don't be one on the bottom. And it was a potato sitting on a couch.
Okay.
Interesting messages to put by each other, though.
And then at the end of the montage with Libby sucking her thumb, all I saw on the poster was Drugs, with a very serious face similar to AIDS.
That one took me a minute too, because it's still really blurry when I did pause. It says drugs, they're to die for.
Not the message I would put.
But I think that's a poster we need to make and sell. Drugs, they're to die for.
Drugs, they're to die for.
Can the title of this episode just be colon? Not even the word spell out, just a colon. Zelda, looking crazy, has discovered the cure for bat breath and gives Hilda a tablet. It works! Zelda can now save the world!
Did they buy a new laptop after the cousins destroyed it the last episode? Or did they magically fix it? Or are we just pretending it wasn't destroyed? It was destroyed enough for Zelda to be like, this is war.
Do you think they had insurance on it? Do you think there's like a geek squad for laptops? Again, I can come up with ways to make this work, but there's going to be no confirmation on any of it. Could have been an insurance claim. Could have been that she magically fixed it. Could have been the magical geek squad. Could have been that she took out some of her money and bought a new one, or that the cousins felt bad.
Or they just forgot that it was destroyed.
Or that they didn't care. The Spanish teacher comes by and Valerie remembers failing her test. Sabrina zaps her so she can suddenly speak Spanish fluently-ish. Still quite an American accent. And Valerie talks to the teacher in Spanish, saying she did bad on her test because she was nervous and asks for a second chance. The teacher is impressed and agrees to give her a second test. Harvey walks by and Valerie immediately goes up to him and tells him that Sabrina is a witch. Which I feel like if you tell somebody that you're a witch, like the second sentence out of your mouth should be, and don't tell anybody. So like it goes, hey, I'm a witch, period. You can't tell anybody. Now we can talk about other things. Like, that's on Sabrina for not telling her, hey, zip your lip.
I mean, Valerie's a Gwendolyn, though.
But also, like, she's not going to think that Harvey can't know this information. Why would she assume that? Because Sabrina is arguably closer to Harvey than she is to Valerie.
True.
So Sabrina has visions of a mob of school kids chasing her with torches. Harvey also doesn't believe it at first, but Sabrina zaps him some baseball cleats, and they go off to talk about it. As they leave, Libby appears from behind the doorway, having overheard everything. Valerie, Harvey, and Sabrina are at Sabrina's house, where Salem startles them and talks. And Harvey's like, hey, he talked. Sabrina is going to take them to the other realm. And why do they have so many towels in that linen closet? There's a lot of towels on those shelves.
Gotta make it look normal for the way too many mortals coming through this house.
That's like enough towels to switch out your towels every day, with all three of them living there.
Maybe they're particular.
Maybe. There's a huge Mortal Day festival at the other realm, and there's a bunch of shirts, and I want us to make some Mortal Day shirts.
Cool.
Sabrina gets balloons from a headless salesman, and Harvey tries on some sunglasses that show virtual reality surfing. And I was like, that's not really magical anymore.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You'd have to change that up for something else. Back at school, Libby is telling everyone that Sabrina is a witch and trying to figure out how this can help her.
I feel like Libby should have at least a little PTSD from the Crucible and the last time she tried to go around saying Sabrina's a witch, but she has chosen to forget for her own gain.
Maybe all the memories of Jenny left with Jenny. Because Sabrina sure hasn't brought her up. Maybe Jenny was a witch and she just erased herself from everybody.
Maybe.
Hilda is eating as much pomegranate as she can now that she has a cure for her bat breath. Zelda gets a letter from the other realm from a company that heard about her cure. They want her to present about it, but Hilda doesn't want to go. Zelda threatens to withhold the cure if she doesn't come, and Hilda calls her an egghead. We got another montage in the other realm of flying carpets, eating corn dogs that automatically replenish, magic mirrors, photo ops, caramel apples that replenish. At least I assume they do because they didn't pull them back up. More flying carpets, more photo ops, more magic mirrors, drinking fountain with cola, chocolate milk, and prune juice. You can very clearly see Valerie's arm like moving to hand off her corn dog and grab a new one before she lifts it up. The props person should have gotten a little bit closer to her. They only have 2 tickets left. Harvey wants to meet Mark Langston, and he appears.
Fun quick fact about Mark is he was actually drafted to the Chicago Cubs out of high school. However, he chose not to sign and went to college first before heading to the Seattle Mariners after graduating. I feel like that doesn't happen much these days where people are like, no, I will get my education first.
That was a fact with Sky. Harvey is astonished and starts playing catch with him. Harvey catches a throw and is in a ton of pain. Valerie wants to dance with Carey for her final wish. She gets zapped into a 50s dance scene in a ball gown with Carey in a suit, and they dance around. And I love her dress, but I was like, why does a teenage girl have a crush on Carey?
Yeah, that was weird.
That was weird, but okay. I mean, Carey seems like a lovely human being, I'm not gonna lie, but back in the 90s, he wasn't known as like the sexy comedian.
Maybe he wanted to come on the show, or they wanted to get him on the show, and this was the only time he could come to film. And so they're like, "Oh, how do we incorporate Drew Carey into this episode?"
Listen, Drew, you're gonna come on. There's gonna be a teenage girl that has the hots for you. You're gonna dance with her as if you're in a 1950s movie, and then you're gonna have 2 lines, and you're gonna give her your glasses.
Wishing her well, and you hope that she's nearsighted.
And he was just like, sold, A+.
Done.
So at the end, he gives her his glasses, as we just said. She turns her head and is back at the table with Sabrina. At school, Libby has gotten a larger crowd with parents around. Libby confirms that Sabrina is a witch and calls dibs on anything good in her locker. Oh, I did see there was a part where Sabrina's locker was open and somebody's been writing on it in Sharpie. And there was like initials. It was like JTR is, and they couldn't read the last word. It looked like tardy or turdy. I did pause it and try to read it, but the handwriting was just like really like fast and shaky, and I couldn't figure out what it said. Okay, Zelda is giving her presentation and gives Hilda a pomegranate to show that she has bat breath. Salem shows up and startles everyone in the audience. In the other realm, Valerie and Harvey get sucked into a swirling vortex. But Sabrina is out of tickets and can't zap them out.
Before they get into the swirling vortex, Harvey is very excited because Mark Langston signed his bruise from when he thought all his fingers had been broken by Mr. Mark Langston.
So if you get stabbed during your sword quest, you're going to keep that stab ink afterwards.
As long as it doesn't have a blood groove, it will heal just fine.
At the presentation, Zelda is explaining her cure while Salem is falling asleep. He leaves to get some fresh air and a latte. Valerie and Harvey are still stuck in the vortex, and the headless salesman is back trying to sell tickets to people to watch them. Sabrina notices he has tickets and tries to get them from him, but he refuses. Just then, Salem shows up and startles the salesman, causing the tickets to go flying. Sabrina catches them and throws the entire roll into the vortex to get it to stop. Harvey and Valerie come shooting back up, switched into each other's clothes. They laugh it off, and Sabrina asks the salesman to take a picture of them all.
Harvey says, "I'm beginning to understand why Scotsmen wear kilts. Nice and breezy."
And Nate pulls off that dress.
That he does.
Oh, there was also a part when they're starting to go into the vortex, and Nate does like a little like tiny spin and like crouches down. That's kind of cute. They return back to Sabrina's house, and Sabrina is telling them how grateful she is to share her secret with them.
Valerie has a line of, "The only secret I have is that I'm allergic to watermelon." Well, that's out.
Also, maybe don't keep food allergies a secret. Those are things that people should know. Be loud and proud with those food allergies, folks. Now I'm going to watch to see if Valerie ever eats anything watermelon. Oh, what if, remember back when Sabrina was turning everybody into fruit? If Valerie's allergic to watermelon and she gets turned into a watermelon, does she go into anaphylactic shock?
What is the watermelon equivalent of anaphylactic shock? Just all the watermelon juice going out?
It explodes?
Shriveled pulp of non-watery watermelon? Just the rind?
Or like if you turn her back, would she be in an anaphylactic shock?
She'd just be dead.
Where's Hilda to test out this theory for us? There's a banging on the door, and a reporter, Libby, and a large crowd are there. The reporter asks if Sabrina's a witch, but Libby says to ask Harvey and Valerie. Harvey won't admit to anything. Libby bribes Valerie with popularity. It looks like Valerie is going to admit it, but then she sticks up for Sabrina. She says, "I hate to do this." And the way she delivers the line, she's like, "I hate to do this, but I have no idea what you're talking about." And she like kind of rolls her eyes. And I was like, is she upset that she's being a good friend? And like the line delivery was just not it. There's 2 different ways you can read it, I guess. And I think I'm choosing to read it as the more negative because of my preconceived notions. I guess you could read it as as her being sassy to Libby by giving kind of a snarky, like, I have no idea what you're talking about kind of tone. But I don't know. It was just interestingly done.
Yeah, I think some of her lines are just delivered weirdly because there's like a moment like that as well at the beginning when they're in the hall and she's like, yeah, I got an F in Spanish, assuming that's the same letter in both languages. Just very catty almost to Sabrina. And I think if it had been played a different way, it would have landed better.
Again, I don't know if these are actress's choice or director or what, but maybe just a little bit of a redo on that. The crowd leaves disappointed, and Libby chases after them.
She is a witch and an extraterrestrial. Do an alien autopsy. Which, that one, 0 to 100 of kill her and open her up and explore.
Well, Hilda almost ate her, so, fair's fair.
It's Sabrina, though, not Hilda.
Same bloodline. As Valerie and Harvey leave, the spell wears off and they forget all about the day. Sabrina closes the door and smiles. Zelda has the newly marketed bat breath cure and Hilda asks to see it. Clearly a Tic Tac box with a picture of Hilda on it that says, kills Hildatosis. Hilda is offended by the bad picture. Hilda is also now sick of pomegranates. Sabrina joins them in the kitchen to tell them about her day. They expect her to be upset, but she's really happy and starts looking at the pictures. And she got those pictures developed really fast because that was a normal Kodak disposable camera.
Magic.
What happened to the magic camera that she has?
Oh, yeah, that was the thing.
She could have taken the magic camera and like the magic Polaroid camera. Granted, it's kind of big and clunky, but like.
Also, that Tic Tac box, supposing to be Hilda's face with a bat coming out. It just looks like Hilda has a mustache on it. Like the prop in general could have been a little better.
Yes. It was clearly a last minute prop.
Yeah.
In our end tag, Sabrina clarifies that everyone has actually forgotten about her being a witch, and Zelda assures her no one will remember. Salem is snoring on the couch, and they all look on fondly. He wore himself out today. Then they all zap an air horn sound, causing Salem to jump up to the ceiling. That's okay. He has another 8 more lives.
And then mentions that he'll have 7 after I fall down from here. Feel like we already mentioned in a previous episode, like counting down Salem's lives. Is this where the countdown starts? Okay.
No, it's like a whole episode about it.
So they're gonna retcon us.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. On our next episode, season 2, episode 11, Oh, What a Tangled Spell She Weaves. Sky, what do you think that's going to be about?
That's a long title. Hear me out. This has never been done before.
Okay.
Sabrina's gonna cast a spell. Something's gonna go wrong. Shocking.
Okay. Wow.
And then it's gonna cause a butterfly effect. And then, in order to correct her wrong, it's gonna be a whole journey. And I know Sabrina's never cast a spell before and it's gone wrong, and so this is going to be groundbreaking.
That is such an innovative idea. I don't know if the writers would have thought about it.
Probably not.
I also feel like the Net TV Guide description is about as specific as that was.
I'm ready to write for TV Guide. I'll remember my commas.
Still cannot remember specifics about this episode because the description was so vague. So, like, all right, we'll find out together. So until next time, you can like, share, rate, and subscribe to this podcast to help us grow. You can email us at somethingwitchypod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod to take part in other fun polls and maybe offend Sky some more. You can follow us on TikTok at something.witchy.pod. Until next time,
stay magical.